The smell of fresh coffee filled the small kitchen of a modest apartment on the outskirts of Chicago. At 5:30 a.m., Emily was already awake, her hands trembling slightly as she prepared breakfast. Her little boy, Noah, still slept soundly in the next room, clutching his worn-out teddy bear. She had been up since dawn, the same way every morning. Life as a single mother wasn't easy, but she had learned to move forward, one day at a time. She looked at the clock, almost 6. She had 30 minutes to get Noah ready before catching the first bus to her job at the diner downtown. Outside, the streets were still dark, the city slowly waking up. Emily whispered softly, "We'll be okay, baby, I promise." That morning, fate was quietly preparing to change everything. Across town, Ethan Miller, CEO of one of the biggest tech companies in the country, sat alone in his penthouse, staring at the skyline. He had everything money could buy, a view that stretched to infinity, silence that filled every corner, and success that made headlines. But what he didn't have was peace. Ethan's mornings were quiet, mechanical: meetings, reports, signatures. He was known as a man who didn't believe in love, who refused every woman who came close, convinced that everyone wanted something from him. Until that one afternoon. Emily was working a double shift at the diner. Her manager had begged her to stay late. A big corporate group had booked the entire back section. She smiled politely, hiding her exhaustion. Noah sat quietly at a corner booth, coloring on a napkin. She had no one else to watch him. The bell over the door chimed, and a group of sharply dressed men walked in. Among them was Ethan Miller. His presence drew attention instantly. Tall, confident, but with a kind of emptiness in his eyes. He barely looked around, too used to being the most powerful person in any room. "Good afternoon," Emily greeted softly, balancing her tray. "Welcome to Sonny's Diner. What can I get for you?" Ethan didn't answer at first. His gaze had fallen on Noah, the little boy with big eyes and a crayon-stained hand. The child looked up and smiled. "Hi, mister." For a reason he couldn't explain, Ethan smiled back, a rare, genuine smile. As Emily served the table, a coworker whispered, "That's Ethan Miller, the billionaire from Miller Tech." Emily froze for half a second but kept her composure. "Well, even billionaires need coffee," she replied quietly. When she came back with their orders, Noah accidentally dropped his crayon box, and the colors scattered under the table. Ethan bent down before anyone else could react, gathering the crayons one by one. "Thank you, sir," Noah said shyly. Ethan handed them back and smiled again. "You're welcome, buddy." That simple moment, small, almost invisible, stuck with him for the rest of the day. That night, as Ethan sat in his office, he couldn't focus on his reports. He kept seeing that young woman working tirelessly, her son quietly drawing beside her. He thought about how different their worlds were, and yet, how real her smile had been. The next morning, something unusual happened. Ethan canceled his meetings and showed up at the diner again. Emily was startled to see him sitting at the counter. "Mr. Miller?" she asked, confused. "I thought I'd try your coffee again," he replied with a calm smile. "Best one I've had in years." From that day, he came back every morning. Sometimes he sat in silence. Other times, he asked about Noah, about her day, about her dreams. At first, Emily kept her distance. She didn't trust kindness that came from wealth. But Ethan wasn't like the others. He didn't pity her. He simply listened. Days turned into weeks. Emily found herself laughing again, something she hadn't done in years. Noah adored him, calling him Mr. Ethan, always excited when he visited. Then, one cold December morning, everything changed. The diner was struggling to stay open. The owner couldn't pay rent, and layoffs were inevitable. Emily didn't tell Ethan. She didn't want help. She wanted dignity. But when she came to work the next day, a closed for renovation sign hung on the door. She panicked until she saw a familiar black car parked nearby. Ethan stepped out, holding a folder. "I didn't want to see you lose this place," he said gently. "I bought the diner." Her eyes widened. "You, what?" "I'm reopening it, under your management." Emily stood frozen. "Why would you do that?" "Because you reminded me what honesty looks like," Ethan said. "You work harder than anyone I know. You deserve a chance." Tears filled her eyes as she realized it wasn't charity, was belief. Weeks passed, and the diner bloomed again. Emily ran it with pride, her smile brighter each day. Noah had his own little corner table, and customers loved him. Ethan visited often. not as a CEO but as a man, rediscovering what it meant to care. And one evening, as the sun set over the city, he stayed behind to help her close up. "Emily," he said quietly, "you changed my life more than you'll ever know." She looked at him, eyes glistening. "You changed mine too." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small key. "There's an office upstairs now," he said. "Your name's on the door." That night, as she locked up the diner and looked at the glowing sign outside, Emily realized something profound. Sometimes, kindness doesn't come from those who have little, but from those who finally understand what truly matters. Ethan didn't just give her a new beginning. He found his own, because in a world where power often hardens hearts, one single mother and her little boy reminded a lonely millionaire that love, in its purest form, can still change everything. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a little hope today. See you in the next video.